All right. Good bye week so far. We got guys had a really good practice today. Um, we started out with watching film and having practice Monday. Had a good lift on Tuesday, and team meeting, and then had a real good practice today. And we'll go at it again tomorrow. And then coaches will do some recruiting, and the players will get some rest.
Like you said, at one point, what you do in the bye week kind of depends on when it falls in the season. Is this one different than the one that was only like 2 weeks ago?
No, because it's still so much on the front end, that I felt like we just needed to work really hard and get better, obviously. So, there's always a balance there with getting guys healthy. We have a really tough stretch of games, as you know, and it's going to continue. But, there's obviously guys that are nicked up, but our overall health and their mindset and their strength is good. And the way we're doing this week, there's a good balance between getting the work, getting their bodies right, and, trying to improve.
Mark, with some of the tackling, I know y'all don't like to tackle to the ground, but is it something like maybe this year where you have to maybe do that more, especially in the bye week?
Listen, it's always a fine line. Like, I think the tackling has been an issue, in particular on the perimeter. And, that's something that, tackling to the ground really, I don't know how much that's going to help. I mean, a lot of that is our position on the football, and it hasn't been great. And we haven't made great one-on-one tackles. We've had games as recent as last year where everybody in the country is calling me talking about how we do our drills, to how we tackle, and in a couple games last year, earlier in the year, people were like, and I don't know, there's no recipe. We do a lot of drills. We do tackling circuits just about every day that we're in pads, and we'll continue to do that. I think it's really, our position on the football hasn't been great. Whether it's DBs on the perimeter being too soft and not being able to get them to the ground, and some plays on the perimeter when they're designed to get on the outside, we haven't been great. There's some really talented players, and then there's other times where we're just not in good position. So we just got to work it all and just get better.
Georgia looked to be one of the more physical teams.
Yeah,
with
for sure.
Running after the catch.
Yeah.
After first contact.
Very much so. Yeah, I think I was asked that today on the teleconference. But we play Georgia every year. You kind of know what you're going to get. They're always physical, always really good players. But I think after playing them in person, yes, their skill guys are very strong, and their running backs, they looked elite on film, and after playing them in person, they're pretty darn good.
Mark, obviously, you all said after the game that Cam Miller had probably earned some more snaps with what he did. But when a young guy does that, does it give you any more incentive to throw some other young guys out this week and see what you got out there? Or?
Yeah, I mean, anytime the bye week and you're trying to bring guys along, guys like DJ, who's banged up in camp, and like freshmen, when you miss a week in camp or 2 weeks, that's like months, and so, we're trying to, guys that are healthy now, continue to work with them, yes, and see if they could help us.
Give an update on guys like DJ Waller, Seth McGowan, after they've been kind of picked up.
Yeah, I think, I hope, I'm optimistic that next week, I don't have to report anything this week, but I'm optimistic next week that they'll be both ready to go.
Obviously, Texas has not had the season they wanted so far. As you kind of get ahead on the preparation, what do you see from them?
Well, it's interesting, because, they're pretty darn good, you know what I mean? But you're right. I mean, when you're preseason 1 or 2 and all that, but look, I mean, their schedule's pretty tough too. Playing at Ohio State's no joke. And then, at Florida, I was really impressed with both teams in that game. I really thought Florida did some really good things. It's not like Texas is bad. I think you know that. They're a very good football team that's playing a very tough schedule, and on the road, it's no joke.
Mark, Brad talked about on the coach's show just keeping the confidence up with the team. When you get off to a slow start like you're off to, is that something you're able to maybe having to hit home?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I had a scheduled speaker yesterday for a couple months, and just trying anything we can. But the guys are really good, and it is important to keep that belief, because they have a really tough schedule, you know, and they have a really tough day-to-day schedule, and they're physically and mentally taxed every day. So it is important, and you know, I like this group. You know, I love today's practice. I know we got better today, and we got to do the same thing tomorrow.
You've seen Cutter grow more as he's getting the reps.
Just confidence and just the tempo of things. You know, when you're in there and you're in an SEC environment and these big dudes are coming at you, you know, and you get hit a few times, you know, things speed up a little bit. And then, you know, you look at like last week's game, and each quarterback as he gets reps, you know, I thought in last week's game, you know, things slowed down for him a little bit. He trusted it. You know, we had protection. That doesn't mean you have all day, but you know, we got to get the ball out as well.
You know, Cutter talked about after that Georgia game, he said he liked the way the game was called. He felt really comfortable in that system, the way you guys kind of mixed up the passing attack. The offense has kind of been something that has been tinkered with all season long, but what did you see most in that Georgia game that you can really apply going forward offensively?
Well, I think, you know, there's always, you know, we're trying to find the things that our players do well, and you know, what the quarterback's comfortable with, and you know, I think, you know, that's something that everybody just strives, you know, week to week to get better at, more comfortable.
We're good?